Hey guys, I'm here at the Herbarium at Cornell University, and if any of you had read my book, How to Make a Plant Love You, Cultivate Green Space in Your Home and Heart, I actually had a little segment where I'm walking through the herbarium and I was describing that, and I was with this fine woman, Anna, and she's been working at the herbarium here for quite some time. Tell me a little bit about this space and how long you've been here and what your role is here.
This is the Liberty Hyde Bailey Hortorium herbarium. It's been in this space since the building here was built in 1954, I believe.
Yeah.
The herbarium itself, the herbarium collection at Cornell, was started shortly after the university was founded in 1895.
So right
85.
Right, so right off 85. The bat, really.
Right.
So it's an important part because this was part of it's an ag school as well, right? So,
right, well that didn't happen until later.
Oh, okay.
So the first Department of Botany was in what's now the Arts and Sciences College. Augmented initially by a purchase of the personal herbarium of a young man named Horace Mann Jr. by the first president of Cornell, Andrew Dixon White. He's shelled out about $1,000 of his own money to buy approximately 7,500 specimens from Horace Mann's mother. Horace Mann had died tragically of tuberculosis at age 24, but had amassed a sizable collection, collecting from Michigan and Minnesota, New England, and Hawaii as well. So that basically became the nucleus of the first herbarium at Cornell. From there, it grew, and you mentioned the CALS, the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, where we are now. That wasn't established until the turn of the century. Liberty Hyde Bailey, whose picture you see there, who this facility is named for today, came to Cornell in 1888 and helped to get land grant status granted to Cornell, and thus found the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences at around the turn of the century. So in 1913, a herbarium was begun here in the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and the two of them sort of ran in parallel for a number of years until about 1930 or so, when they were merged, and then brought here at some point, I can't remember the exact year, but then brought here and merged in 1935 with Liberty Hyde Bailey's own personal herbarium, which he donated to the university when he retired, another 125,000 specimens.
And he was quite a prominent botanist as well, right? I mean, he's done quite a bit of writing. And I think I remember, if I remember correctly, you had told me that he had conjured up the word Hortorium, right?
That's right.
It's a made-up word that he made up.
That's right. When giving his collection, his herbarium collection, his personal library, his garden, conservatory, living plants to the university, he was asked, well, what do we call this? You know, it's more than just a herbarium. So he said, oh, well, let's call it a hortorium, which means things of the garden. And so all of those parts of that gift are still extant today in one form or another.
And did he just collect all over the world, or was his interest also just native plants here, or what was kind of his
interest
role?
Was really horticulture. He was hired in 1888. He was wooed by Cornell to come come here to Ithaca and elevate this horticulture to a science. In those days, horticulture was, a commercial pursuit, and botany was science. So they wanted to beef that up a bit, and so they brought Liberty Hyde Bailey here, who did just that. He hired, experts in plant science and the plant sciences, but they applied their research and work to horticultural pursuits, as well as others.
And I think we probably see those effects today, because I even know folks who have gone to school for botanical horticulture, and it's like kind of the melding of the two worlds together, but that's basically
That's right. He's called the father of horticulture.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, because of that.
So, I mean, when I think of if we're part of the Hortorium or the herbarium, when I think of herbarium, I think of pressed plants, that's in the simplest of form. But really, what is an herbarium? And maybe you could take us, walk us around, because right now it doesn't seem so apparent of what it is, but it seems just like a highly organized lockers.
Well, they are just that. And let's see, the best place to look maybe is not here, because this is a little boring color-wise. So a herbarium is just that, a collection of preserved plants in one form or another. Most of ours are pressed and glued to sheets of herbarium paper, although we do have some collections in liquid as well. This collection, you can see that the folders are colored differently, and that color reflects the place in the world where they were collected.
So the continent?
Yes,
meaning?
yes.
Okay.
This is from Latin America. This color
and this is
represents
all
Latin America.
Fabaceae.
This is all Fabaceae. Yes. Which is, we have a pretty sizable collection of Fabaceae because of a emeritus professor who studied this group exclusively. We start always with New York in blue. A generic sequence always starts in blue with New York specimens, or geocentric New York, then North American in this Manila folder, Manila color.
Yeah.
Latin American in gray, then Europe and Asia, the Pacific area, brown for Africa, and then you might notice that there's a lot of green here, and this too goes back to Bailey and reflects his interests and those of the people who followed him here. Those are all cultivated plants. Those are all plants that were grown in greenhouses, in gardens, in botanical gardens, in arboreta.
Okay.
And this collection is very unique amongst university collections in that we have a sizable percentage of this collection represented by cultivated plants.
Fascinating. Okay. Yes, because when I think about herbarium collections, I do think about, I got that in the wild, or I got that on the side of the road. Or
Right. So not wild plants. So here you see this was cultivated in Virginia in 1935.
Yeah.
The cultivated labels are also a little bit different. They include a lot of information about where the seed source came from or the plant source. Lots of information on those labels.
So I'm always fascinated by organization, because once you start getting all these data points, it's like to stay organized. And you are. When I first came here, I was like, wow, you guys are so organized here. How does this work digitally? And I know at the time you were like scanning some items in. Where are you in that process? And
so I didn't get to the numbers. We have nearly 900,000 specimens in this collection.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's crazy, and it is. It's the second largest in New York State. It's the 85th largest in the world, and the 6th largest university-held collection in North America. So it's pretty sizable, much less so than the largest collection in North America and in New York State, which is at the New York Botanic Garden.
Right, that's right.
An order of magnitude larger. They have somewhere like 8 million specimens.
Wow.
So it's much, and it occupies many rooms this size.
Yeah. But there is a move now to digitize these things, right?
And so now we've got, out of that 900,000, we have about 235,000 of them photographed, and the data from those labels entered into a database.
And then is that what you were doing back in this room? Or
Let's walk over here, and Jonathan has just returned from his lunch break.
Nice.
So every specimen now has a barcode on it, much like the barcode you see in the grocery store.
Okay.
And that is its unique identifier. The barcode on the data record is then linked to the image by that unique identifier.
Where can we actually access this now? Is it through Cornell?
It's not available yet.
Not available yet.
It's not available yet.
Okay.
No, not
jumping
yet.
the gun. You got to get cracking on that, Jonathan.
Well, it's taken a long time to get this far.
Yeah, 200,000 out of 900,000 is not a bad ratio, but
no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Sounds pretty good.
I feel like you were just maybe I came 3 years ago. I feel like you were just beginning. I don't know if that's the truth, but yeah.
Well, we started with the Tompkins County material.
Yeah.
And did all of that. Then we moved on to all of New York State, and we've since done all of the ferns, all of the gymnosperms, the pines, and such. And now we're doing some New England, and then on a daily basis we do the new acquisitions because we are still receiving new specimens every day, and things that go out on loan from here to another institution. That's sort of the business of herbaria, is sending specimens to and from other institutions so that people can study them.
Yes, for research purposes.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks for letting us barge in. And so you've already brought out some amazing specimens I see here.
Yes. So these are some of the sort of the show specimens, some of the things we that are most unusual or impressive in one way or another. These are some of the oldest on this end of the table. This one is from about 1750. We're not sure of the data collection because the label does not indicate that. However,
tisk tisk.
we know the lifespan of the individual who made this specimen, and so we can estimate 1735 or so. This is collected, grown, collected, and prepared by John Stuart, 3rd Earl of Bute, who was once Prime Minister of England. Briefly, about a year, he decided he preferred gardening to governing. He left the ministry and went back to his estate where he gardened. He was also instrumental in helping to found Kew Gardens.
Oh,
in
fascinating.
London.
Amazing to just be able to tell some of that history, through the herbarium specimens.
This one is one of the more special, right, of his. We have about 100 of his, but this one has got sealing wax that was used to hold a strap of paper here and hold the specimen down.
Fascinating. So are you putting a lot of these more antique specimens in plastic just to kind of preserve them more?
They're mostly in plastic because we use them a lot.
Okay.
Because these are sort of, again, the show specimens.
Yeah.
This is a specimen
This is what I remember,
that was collected during Captain Cook's first voyage to Tahiti. This one in 1769, collected at Tierra del Fuego by Joseph Banks and Daniel Solander, the two botanists who were on board. This was a voyage to view the transit of Venus from Tahiti, which I don't know if you remember, we had one of those in 2012, not too long ago. In those days, it was important to observe that sort of event from as many different places on the globe as possible. So people were sent out to all corners of the earth to observe that event and take mathematical measurements and then get together and use them to help determine the distance from the Earth to the Sun, which we did not know in 1769.
Wow. And then he's like, I'll just grab a few plants while I'm there.
Right, and which helped with navigation and such, which was very important.
Is this what the plant
so
looks
in
like?
this is actually a drawing that was completed of this species on the voyage. There were artists on board who were busily
it looks like a rose.
Sketching the plants that they found, the animals that they found. Unfortunately, the artists who accompanied Banks on this voyage died before they made it back to England.
This is interesting, and partially because I recently just got this, because it's a native plant, but to plant it around our water body.
Oh, nice.
And it's a local aeroid.
That's right. And this one, this was something that surfaced when we recurated the collection in 2005. That's why we have all these nice cabinets and these nice, beautiful folders. That was done around that time. Someone unearthed this and realized that here it said, H.D. Thoreau did it. Horace Mann Jr., who I've already mentioned, was a contemporary of Henry David Thoreau.
Wow.
They botanized together. And apparently, Henry David Thoreau plucked this Peltander virginica out of some waterway.
Unbelievable.
Gave it to his friend Horace and said, what could this be?
Yeah.
Why Horace kept it and did not add anything more than H.D. Thoreau did it is puzzling, but we like to think that it came from Walden Pond.
Yeah.
Here's another, and we have found others. This one also from Henry David Thoreau, but this one does say Concord, Mass. So.
Yeah. A little bit more information.
A little more, but not a lot.
Yeah.
This one also, they were both residents of Concord.
And that's, I think, one thing that we appreciate when looking at herbarium specimens is that you'll see some of the folks who have spent a lot of time and labor in mapping out details, which is even more useful. Now you've less left guessing when it's just a name and a species.
That's right. This one is something that we found just recently, and I'm not sure what the veracity of this statement is, but it says it was collected near Washington, D.C. in 1886 by C.A. Stebbins, tree planted by General Washington.
That ink looks very different than that ink, though, doesn't it?
Well, so this was probably the original label, and then
Yeah.
this is something that someone else added after the fact.
Yeah.
It's not even very attractive, but
Yeah.
magnolia leaves from a tree, presumably
Not even a flower.
planted.
Not even a flower.
And then these are just sort of to demonstrate the gamut of preparation and
Right.
how challenging that can be. Here's a fir branch. This was once a cone like these are, but the scales have all fallen off, which is what happens when you dry such a thing.
Yeah.
Someone, however, took care to place a hairnet around these cones so that the scales stayed in place.
Yeah.
So it requires a little bit of ingenuity and thought. You know, even though it seems pretty straightforward to press a plant between a book, and we've all done it, and quite successfully, I'm sure. Some plants are a little more challenging than others.
Yeah, especially, I mean, this is a really good, I mean, I do recall that you had some in boxes, and this is quite marvelous because you have, you
Yes.
know, everything that's associated with this plant, including like some of the bark and the inner bark and like everything.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really, so that we like to contrast this collection to this collection.
Yeah.
And say which one is more valuable.
The do's and the don'ts.
Scientifically. I mean, this one is a real wonder, you know,
Yeah.
and everyone's always thrilled to see that Henry David Thoreau touched that plant.
Yeah.
But this one with all this wonderful data, and as you say, all of the parts of the plant that were available is really a fine example of a herbarium collection.
And how about this with the color? Unbelievable.
So this is a marine alga,
algae.
even though it's not a plant,
yeah.
it still was part of this collection. And these are also collected in a very different way. You obviously can't press an aquatic plant. So this plant is floated in water with this piece of paper underneath it. And then the
Dried
paper
out.
brought up to catch the plant in sort of a natural position.
And then how does this, like, if the paper has water on it, how does it not, like, kind of...
Well, because algae has some of its own natural glue mucilage or something.
Right, but doesn't the paper kind of, do you have to glue the paper, or does it ripple the paper?
Apparently not. I mean, well, if you
fascinating.
look, there are some ripples
Yeah.
here, you know, so it has shown some of that effect.
Trial and error, I'm telling
Yes,
you.
yes,
This one you
yes.
have to be careful picking up.
And this is really another fine example. We'd like to say, well, here's a bad example of a cactus preparation,
Right.
but you know, how would you know, right? Unless you've done it before. Although this one probably was collected late in the season or something and was probably already in a desiccated state.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not a perfect specimen or anything like it. But this one, look at that. That's just, someone really took a lot of care and put a lot of thought in how best to represent this species.
Yeah, it's
with
beautiful. I mean, you could almost put it in a frame and hang it on your wall at the end of the day.
It really is beautiful. Yeah. And then, of course, you mentioned things in boxes. We have
Yes.
lots of things in boxes because
Yes.
amongst our holdings are a lot of palm specimens. We have the largest, one of the best palm collections in the world.
Oh, who would have thunk it?
Exactly.
Crazy.
Here we are in
Especially
upstate
in upstate New
right?
York. Yeah, you think of like maybe Florida.
That's right. That's right. But we have a Bailey in his retirement decided that that was one thing he did not know. So he chose to travel around in the American tropics and collect palms and learn more about palms because collections were not very good either
Right.
of palms because they are big.
Huge. How would
Big.
you even press that? You know, it's
Right.
like you'd have to get
Right.
massive pieces of board.
So he began a systematic study of that, which he continued until his death. And subsequent to his time here at the herbarium, we've had others who've picked up that and continued to add to the collection. So as I say, it's a very thorough collection.
Well, speaking of palms,
This one or this one?
I mean, let's start with the small.
This
and
one's
then go
kind of
big.
fun because someone actually mailed it.
I mean, it looks like a football.
Mailed it to. It's a coconut with a stamp. You can see the remnants of a stamp
that's
there.
so hilarious.
Mailed to the chief palmist. And then the back of the label says, if undeliverable as addressed, please deliver to
The city dump. Oh my goodness.
So that's kind of fun. But this one, so this is the largest seed in the world, a representative of the plant, the largest seed in the world. Yeah. This is from the double coconut, which grows in only one place in the world, endemic to the to the Seychelles Islands.
Yeah.
And unknown for a very, very long time, until about 1768. People would find these, washed up on the shores of faraway islands and land masses and not know where this thing had come from.
Right.
Finally, someone went inland, and it doesn't grow along the shore at all. It grows inland in the forest. They finally discovered where it came from. It's a very large plant. It has a very long lifespan, and so it's because its life history is so protracted. It's been threatened. For one reason, by overcollection, because people find those fruits, seeds very attractive.
Right.
And I just looked today on eBay. You can buy a basket carved out of one of these for $1,900.
Wow.
So
unbelievable. I remember when I saw that, got to hold it for the first time. I was like, but I said, it looks like a buttocks.
Right, exactly.
The way that it's shaped.
Well, and it's thought to have special properties, aphrodisiac properties. As a matter of fact, when Kate and William went to the Seychelles for their honeymoon, they were gifted a double coconut, and I guess it's worked.
Well, it's a combination of what was it called? The signature of
doctrine of signatures.
Doctrine of signatures, where if it looks like something, if it looks like a kidney, then it probably treats your kidneys.
That's right.
If it looks like a butt or boobs, then it probably is an aphrodisiac. That was the doctrine of signatures back in the day. And even some people probably, there may be some veracity in that, is all I'm saying.
I know you have seen these before and
yes.
perhaps wanted to look at them again. So a herbarium, as I said, just a collection of pressed, dried plants, usually, organized in some systematic way. This one, I like to show this one. This was a personal herbarium. Timothy Wetmore began this book in 1842.
Wow.
He's studying botany. There's a whole explanation at some length. He describes why he's doing this, that he doesn't have much money.
Yeah.
He has to try to teach himself how to identify plants. So he collects them and identifies them with all the notes of. Yeah, it's remarkable. There are several volumes of this, as a matter of fact.
Wow. And how old was he at the time? Do we know?
No, I don't.
I mean, old enough to have exquisite penmanship, which, I think some people probably can admire. I mean, we've forgotten how to actually write in this day and age.
That's
but look
true.
at little Flume Pretense and bergamot and everything.
Yeah, this
Monarda.
one I like to show because, again, this is from 1842, and look how nicely that color is retained.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Was he from around here? Because these are a lot of...
Western New York?
Yeah, I was going to say, because a lot of these plants are
Erie
look like
County.
they're from here.
Mm-hmm. Erie County.
Unbelievable.
So that's an example of a herbarium.
Yeah.
And here's another example of a herbarium. This is something, now around the turn of the 20th century, everybody learned botany. It was not so far-fetched.
And that was something that I really wanted you to bring out because it's something that we've lost in our education, where kids used to be able to identify plants very quickly just by sight. It was our medicine cabinet. It was all around us.
That's right. We spent time outdoors.
We spent time outdoors,
and they became our familiar to us, but not any longer. So this one actually was developed by an educator at Ohio Wesleyan University, this version of this, but as you can see, it's not the only version that could be had at the time. Herbarium and Record of Analysis. So this one is complete. The first one was not.
Yeah.
Here are the collections of Alice Inglesby from 1909.
Wow.
So she's collected a plant. She's analyzed the plant, looked at all of its features and recorded those in this little form, and then drawn her conclusion, her determination that it was a violet in the violet family, and it was common blue violet, Viola palmata.
Yeah, so it's almost like a workbook in a way.
That's right.
So you have the students go out, you have this worksheet that you have to fill in, you observe the plants, and then you determine what it is.
And so great. Alice, her collection here earned her a 92%? Let's look. 95%.
Maybe she got one wrong.
Maybe her penmanship was not so good. That's what someone once said.
Not up to snuff. I'm telling you, she puts all of us to shame when we have to sign that digital screen. You know?
I know.
It just looks like we've resorted to just doing happy faces.
Mm-hmm. Yep. 40% of or at least of our local collections have handwritten labels.
Yeah.
And students can't read them.
Really?
They really can't.
Yeah.
Yep. So we have
But
to.
some of the handwritten labels that I've seen are just exquisitely written. I just want to point this out because this is also one of the examples of showing something within like a liquid format.
Right. We have several. Many of them are palms for
Yeah.
one reason or another. I'm not sure, but we do have lots of collections of liquid.
What was this one that you?
Oh, so I just wanted to. It's just stamps. Talking about loans, and this is how many stamps it took to to send a loan that weighed 1 kilogram.
Oh my goodness.
Some years ago. Not surprisingly, I guess, because we're in this digital age.
Yeah.
We send far fewer physical loans to other institutions. Often people are satisfied with just seeing an image.
Really?
Of the plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess then they're not doing any kind of. I mean, you could do DNA analysis of them, right? You know,
they could.
essentially?
That's right. They could, and obviously those people are not.
Yeah.
They're just looking for identification. Often they're looking for site descriptions.
I see.
Localities.
Yeah. If there was something found in this such and such place.
Right.
Yeah. What is this that you had? You have listed out here. Is this for some other type of display?
Well, so this is from our library. I think I mentioned Bailey's contribution to our botanical library. Not all of these, or I don't know if any of these are actually from his personal collection, but we have this really fine collection of botanical books and catalogs.
Exquisite. I mean, you must have so much joy going back into some of these books and seeing some of these, color block prints and illustrations.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fascinating to see the sort of the evolution, not just of botanical knowledge, but also of printing methods, for instance. So these are herbals from 1678. Oh, yeah.
I was almost thinking this looks like the Culpeper thing, but it's John Gerard, which is like Culpeper came after. Was it even contemporary? So. I can't remember, but it's very similar. That's cool.
I was just reading about Joseph Banks, and he, as a child, everyone had this at home, and this is what informed his early botany endeavors.
Yeah, I mean, this was an important, I think, medicinal as well, right?
Right,
I mean,
right. That's what an herbal was for.
Yeah.
I didn't mention, so these are fragments. This is kind of cool, just because these are fragments that were removed from this book when it was rebound.
Wow.
So they're just notes and bookmarks.
So they weren't part of the actual book. It was just like little segments that were put into it. Right. That's so neat. Some of them used to patch tears. Yeah, and of course, press plants within the book, of course, because everyone does wallpaper. That. Wow. Manuscript material, flower sample. Yeah. So it's kind of neat that they preserve this record as well. Hi.
Did they make their video already?
They're making
We're making it. You're in it. Getting right in it.
Well, don't let me stop you or disturb you.
Too late.
Okay, edit.
This is an American herbal. Yeah. Of course, most of them, originated in England. But this is from 1801, reprinted in 1801, but in New Hampshire, the first American herbal. Wow, that's very cool. So who did that? Samuel Stearns. Samuel Stearns. Wow. And this is like this, it's like just a small, almost like a pocket guide. Yes. Really. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is neat. This is the oldest thing we have, and I don't have the title handy. It's Menard's, whose name
Monarda
gives us
like the bergamot.
Monarda, yes. This is his herbal, and this is actually the first known illustration of the tobacco plant. Ah, and I think I remember also like the first colored illustration was also of a tobacco plant, wasn't it? I don't know. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure
Peter
Maybe.
pulled out a
Yeah,
book,
maybe.
and it might have been the first, and it might have
Yep.
been done in the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
I don't know.
Peter knows this much better than
Yeah.
I do because it's sort of his milieu. But just some of the other things, palm, because we have lots of palms, we
Yes.
also have lots of palm references, and this is a rare palm book
Unbelievable. Look at the illustrations.
showing people using these plants in their habitat.
Unbelievable. Really cool illustrations. And then, you probably can't touch it with your skin. I don't know. It's really neat. Just kind of seeing. Oh yeah, look at that.
So there's a whole plant.
Unbelievable.
Curtis's Botanical magazine, which is the longest publication in botany, 1787, still in publication. Hand-colored plates of started with hand-colored engravings. Here's a strawberry.
I mean, I can't even imagine how long it took to actually put a book like this together. You know what I mean? Like the amount of dedication and the illustration and the research and everything like that. I mean, nowadays we think about like, oh, books, they take so long to come out, a year or whatever. You write it every year. But these are like works of art, you know, at the end of the day.
Yes. That's sort of the point that Peter's made here. These are colored engravings of heaths taken from living plants. After Linnaeus, this is from 1802, after Linnaeus, botanical picture books were published to serve both science and wealthy bibliophiles, whose subscriptions were often the only means of getting a book published.
Wow.
So important in the history of such things. This is a book from the Netherlands, I believe, of fruits, pears, and apples.
Sandra, you could read this, right?
Yes. Well,
Yeah. A very great apple.
very
looks
big
like.
apple.
A very
Yeah.
big apple.
Gedaante is rondadig. I think that's round. And it's got hooks on it. And all kinds of like edges.
I mean, this is probably antiquated Dutch as well. you
Yeah,
know?
there's a lot of words in there that I don't think you find anymore in today's language.
So this is hand-colored engravings. This is from 1758. We've had a visitor from France come and take a look at some of these, and he has seen several copies of this in Europe, and he said they're all different.
Oh my
Yes,
God.
because they're
Yeah, because
they're
you can't-
hand illustrated, and there was
Yeah.
no standard of for the colorist.
That's kind of unbelievable because, like, you
I think I
can't-
want this one to be
You
red.
can't copy it, right? So somebody was there literally painting every single book, coloring every single book that was ordered. Like, it's unbelievable to me. It's so crazy.
yeah.
It's like a limited edition print, essentially, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
you know, but then in book form. So bizarre. And then this one's so vibrant, my gosh.
Right, and so this is a seed catalog, basically, and this is from the Ethel Zoe Bailey Horticultural Catalog Collection, which we have 135, at least 135,000 seed and nursery catalogs. This was, these garish colors were really not very lifelike. They were just meant to sell a product.
To really entice.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then
But
look at
they're
the
really lovely.
leather-bound book.
And so this from F.R. Allen and Company, Nurseryman in Ithaca, was something that the seller would leave on the counter at some place like Agway, at the seed store. And the farmer or gardener would come to the counter and peruse the offerings and then fill out an order blank to get his apples delivered.
Oh my God.
This
Unbelievable.
is from 1899.
Wow. What do I say? It's just like so neat to see a piece of history and completely appreciate the work and the effort and the love that has gone into all of this.
These are just a couple of examples of the seed catalogs, maybe
that-
not the most beautiful
is
ones.
that related to the
but-
Stark brothers?
Yes, the same.
Yeah,
The same, yes.
same family.
Yep. Still in operation. This one's from 1910 with some color photos. I'm not sure exactly how that was achieved, but there must have been some color printing at the time. Two-year-olds grown in Kansas. The tree is Triumph, bearing its first crop.
Oh man. A lot of
great.
things haven't changed though, because you see like in some of those seed catalogs where you see like a big pumpkin And the little child standing right there.
The pumpkin looks huge
Yeah,
because
not much has
because the
changed.
child is the
Yeah.
smallest you could find.
Yeah, exactly.
That's correct. Just another thing is sort of local interest. This is the Journal of Frederick Persh and his excursion from Pennsylvania and into New York. And he actually talks about seeing Ithaca Falls here and looking for a particular plant that did not really occur here, but he was misinformed, I guess.
Oh, jeez.
So that's an interesting bit of botanical history.
And then this is a wood block, right?
Right. So this is a well, I don't know if you call it a printing block.
Printing block,
A
okay.
printing block for this book. So here's the illustration. That is this the right one? Yes,
Yeah, it is.
That has resulted from this.
Wow.
Bailey was, as we've alluded, very prolific in his lifetime. He published lots and lots of books, many of them like this, many of them more scholarly, but a very active botanist, horticulturalist, and he wrote poetry as well, and philosophy.
I do know him from his poetry, but I think like sometimes back in the day, people dabbled in just about everything, right? There were true Renaissance men and women out there, so. Yeah, well, we touched upon a little bit of a role of like an herbarium, but I want to, kind of, speak of that again because, some people say, oh, it's like a library, I don't really use it, but there's a lot of history here, and it's not just for like research and study, but what else does the herbarium like hold for you and the importance of it?
Well, of course, the obvious uses are for people who are studying, who want to identify plants, or for people who are doing plant taxonomy. Someone has just popped in now, an emeritus professor, who's working through some of the loans that he's borrowed from another institution. We have ecologists who are interested in plant-animal relationships, and so they come to look at the plants, sometimes even to look for the animals, the insects, for instance, that are living or have lived on those particular plants. We have artists come here who want to depict the plant accurately, and so they'd like to look at our collection for that purpose.
Also looking probably at historical range and,
right, and of course,
what
yes,
existed
right,
and didn't exist.
Right. So those are the changes in distribution in space and in time.
There's something really local about it to be able to see what your local specimens are, because if you had folks, in Brazil, well, they might have more Brazilian plants. Here you have a very good local, plant. So to have that deep information of your locality, I think is really important. And you not only that, but collected some herbarium specimens back from like the 1700s, even from the area. So that's really telling.
Yeah, so of course the strengths in the collection are local, New York and Northeast and North American, but we do have, representatives from all over the world.
Yeah.
And again, from, decades and centuries ago.
Well, thank you so much. This is just like a wonderful little tour. For me, a little bit down memory lane, because I came here before and I was like blown away, but I think a lot of folks will appreciate this. Not only seeing plants, maybe they don't look so garish or beautiful because they're pressed, but even just like your book collection and everything. It's just so exquisite and tells a little bit of history. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
How did you enjoy the herbarium tour at the Liberty Hyde Bailey Hortorium at Cornell University, and what really stood out to you? Let us know in the comments below. And thanks to all of the viewers and supporters of our channel and the students of our online houseplant courses. All of that really helps us produce the great content that you see here. And 1% of our Google AdSense revenues from this channel goes to plant conservation initiatives. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications button if you'd like to be one of our supporters. In the meantime, we'll see you in the next episode.